Well, hey YouTube, Dave Turner here. In this video, we are going to install a Babicz full contact hardware bass bridge on this 2003 Schecter Stiletto Studio 5 fretless bass guitar. To start, we'll take the old bridge off. We'll do some measurements. We'll make pilot holes and drill some holes for the new bridge. Get the new bridge taken apart, installed, and put back together. And that will wrap it up for us. Let's get started. First step is just to take the old bridge off. When I first got this bass last fall, I looked at this bridge and it looked like it would be really great. It looked cool, easy string installation. You don't have to go through a hole, it just pops right in. Quick change mechanism for the strings. It's got these nice little saddles that slide, but I discovered that in order to adjust your intonation on each string, you actually have to loosen the string and take it out of the saddle so that you can get to the set screw, and then move the saddle where you want it, tighten the set screw, put the string back on and tighten it. And if you aren't quite right, you got to take the string back off again. So intonating this bridge was a nightmare because you can't access the set screw unless you take the string off. So it looked like a great piece until I had to intonate it, and then I found out that I did not like this bridge at all. Now you might be asking yourself, Dave, it's a fretless bass, why do you even need to intonate it? Doesn't it only affect the open string? And technically, yes, it only is affecting the open string, but if you know about playing fretless instruments, you know that you learn your fingerboard in positions, and those positions are ingrained in your hands with what I call muscle memory. And of course, Jeff Berlin pointed out correctly that your fingers don't have any muscles in them, so it's not really muscle memory, but it's all this stuff in your hand and your brain working together to get to that right spot. So even though there's no frets on here, and you can make adjustments with your finger on the string if you need to, that string should be correctly intonated as good as possible, so that you know where the double octave is indicated on the fingerboard with these lines, that should actually be where it sounds. And if this bridge saddle is out, it's going to be a little bit wrong, and that's going to mess up your brain because you're thinking I'm going to positions, but it's out of tune, and so now I have to adjust for every single note I play. That just doesn't work. So counterintuitively, even on a fretless instrument, the bridge needs to be accurately intonated. So old bridge is off, very light and compact. Not a bad piece, just the design with the set screw end of the string is thumbs down. All right, so there's that. Now, this bass is a 35-inch scale bass, so what we need to do is see where that 35-inch mark lies, because we want that 35-inch point to be in about the center of the travel of the saddles, so that if the saddles are in the middle of their full run of travel, that's 35, and then we can adjust down one way or up the other way, and we're not going to be at the min-max areas of the saddle. It's going to be in the middle. So I'm going to make a couple of little pencil marks where 35 inches is. Just like that. So now I have a good idea where that needs to be. I'll just kind of go like this. And I already know that the screw holes are not going to work for me because the placement of the screws on the original bridge is just a little bit tighter than what they are on the Babicz. So the middle hole would line up, but the other 4 do not. So I know I have to drill new holes. And also, if I use the original holes, the bridge is sitting way too close to the pickup, and that 35-inch mark is almost at the forward end of the saddle travel, so that's not going to work for me. I want to have the bridge. I don't know where I want to have the bridge. Do I want to have it closer or further? Okay, so here you can see how I laid out the markings for the holes for the bridge. I did have to strip off the insulation for this ground wire because it did not extend up far enough to make it to the part of the Babicz bridge where the plating is not there. It has to touch this unplated part, and that wire was not quite making it up there without having the insulation laying on top of the wood, which would make it actually would just press the insulation into the wood, and we'd have a little divot there. Not that it really matters. It's just one of those things where if you can do it right, you should do it right. So my wire is going to sit up all the way up to here. Boy, some great camera work there. And you can see here's my center line. I'm drilling the screws just forward of the original locations. I thought they might be further back, but I did a bunch of measuring, and turns out of where it's going to sit, it's going to be just ahead of that. And so you can see how the center hole is lined up. This is where the back of the bridge will sit. The front of the bridge will sit on this line here. But the hole is progressively further out as you go outwards to the edge of the bridge. So that's why you can't use the original holes for this particular installation. So I've got my provided screws. These are just a little bit shorter than what came in with the original bridge, and they have a slightly different head style. So I'm going to get a drill bit, and I'm going to make some holes in the base. All right. Okay, well, we got our holes drilled. We're not in the Hobo Depot right now, and I don't have Hootie, but I do have Mr. Imperial Gunner over here. He's got a little bit of sawdust on him there from the drill. So I drilled my new holes, and all of you woodworkers will be like, no duh, but I wasn't even thinking about this. The part where I drilled into the neck part here, or the whatever this is, the center sections. Yeah, this is a neck through. So the neck part, hard rock maple. It took a little bit of force to drill those. The body wings are mahogany, so much softer. That drill went right in there like butter and then right back out. So interesting to me because I didn't really think about it. I don't do this on neck through instruments very often, so I haven't drilled into different types of wood like this one has. So anyway, that's just an aside. The holes are there. Cross my fingers that I did them right. I've put new bridges on a lot of bases, and I always seem to get it just a little bit, you know, off center, off kilter. I don't have a drill press. I don't have super accurate ways to measure lines and stuff. I actually used my have a Garrison Titan ID badge as a spacer. So anyway, pays off to be a nerd, I guess. I don't know. Anyhow, let's put this bridge mounting plate on. The reason you have to take the saddles off is because the saddles sit over a couple of the screw holes. So anyway, so I lengthened my bridge wire. I'm gonna put a new preamp in this bass. I'm gonna use a Tone Monster ABMT3, something like that, SEB3 ABMT. It's a preamp designed for passive pickups. These are EMG 50 Hertz passive pickups. I know they're not the best pickups, but I think they sound good enough for what I'm going to be doing with this bass most of the time. But the pots on this bass are totally shot and noisy, and the setup is volume, so 2 volumes, and then bass, middle, high. And this preamp that I got from Tone Monster, it's a 4-pot plus 1 toggle switch. So I'll have a master volume and a blend, which I like much better than having to wrestle two knobs to get the tone I want, just 1 knob. And then there'll be a stacked pot for bass and treble cut boost. There'll be a regular pot for middle cut boost, and then there's going to be a three-way toggle in the middle that allows me to shift the mid frequency from like 350 to 800 to 1100 or something like that. I'll tell you when I make the video for that. But anyway, this is getting all new guts inside. I found out that the new preamp stuff does not have a bridge wire for it, so I'm gonna have to retain this bridge wire and just clip it from the original harness when I go to take this all apart. So I'm leaving this bridge wire. I thought I might have to take the bridge off again and just to get the new bridge wire in there, so I went and looked real quick, and it turns out I don't. So I'm good to go. I'm gonna bolt this down, and we're gonna call it good. I'm using my trusty old sock to polish stuff. I've heard that this Babicz logo tends to come off pretty easily, so I'm trying not to touch it or apply any rubbing to it or anything like that, so it doesn't go away. And there are the new holes. They look to be in the right spot. So I'm gonna get these screws started with a screwdriver, and once they're all in, I'll get the old Black & Decker electric drill on there and do it the easy way. Why do I have so many screws? Oh, they gave me extras. Oh, that was nice. Got nervous there for a second. Saw 6 screws and only needed 5, and I just about had a panic attack. But what else is new? Okay, so let's just do this. There's that. Yep, they gave me an extra in case you strip one out. That's nice. I stripped out one of the screws on my hip shot ultralights that I was installing because my screwdriver I was using was a little tweaked here, and the screws that came with the ultralights were just a tiny bit bigger than the originals, and so as I was trying to install the screw, it was really tight, and that screwdriver tip just stripped it out completely, so I went with the original screws. But I didn't have an extra. They didn't give me an extra screw. This is nice. There's one extra screw just in case you screw it up. Sorry. All right, those are good. Let's apply some power. Now, I'll probably get some people telling me never to do this, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm gonna go nice and slow. Nope. Get in there. That one's a little tight, so we'll use the hand tool. That one went right in. That's the mahogany. That's the maple. That's tight. So the holes with the mahogany, no problem. Holes in the maple, the drill says too tight. That's okay. We're cutting new threads anyway. So here we go. Just cinch these down. Mahogany is soft, so I'm not going to overdo it on those end ones. Just click, just nice and snug. The ones in the maple, I'll give a little more since it's a harder wood. Click. Okay, so there's that. So you can see that's a pretty massive piece of brass there, or whatever it is. Actually, it looked like it was aluminum, gold plated. But that's a big one. So let's put these saddles on. Well, I messed that up. I had to stop the camera and fix something because I put the springs on the wrong side of the screw. So, and nobody here stopped me. Mr. Imperial Gunner didn't tell me I was wrong either, so anyway. So I had to take this apart, put it back together the right way. Now we'll tighten these up with Mr. Black & Decker. And we're just going to go to the third. Okay, let's put those set screws in, and our installation will be complete. So Babicz gives you the correct size Allen wrench in case you don't already have one. I'll probably just mount it to the back of my headstock since these things are so easy to lose. And oh, I need to screw those in a tiny bit more to get that set screw to seat there. So let's do that real quick. This is a cool idea. Once you've made your intonation, there's a little screw here that locks it in place and keeps it from slipping. Not that I've really ever had a problem with a saddle slipping. Maybe you have, I don't know. I never have. But it's still a nice idea. A little extra insurance. Get it all nice and shiny. There we go. And we're gonna put that right there. They come with the set screw has a little nylon washer so that you don't mar the finish as you tighten it down. That's a nice touch. And the Allen wrench is a nice tight fit on there. You don't even have to hold it in place. It actually sits in there nice and tight. Hands, you know, one hand operation. That's pretty good. All right, well that's it. Here's the finished product. Looks nice and shiny. I'm gonna go ahead and put strings on this and give a little playthrough, and I may or may not talk a little more in this video. So, okay, so quick follow-up here. I did install the strings, and I did run into two issues with the installation of the Babicz bridge. The first is that the bridge spacing is a little wider than the original bridge. And what that has done is that the G and B string are now at the very edge of the fingerboard at the end. Before they were about there, and because it's a little bit wider here, they're now out to the very end. So it's a little problematic because as I move up the G string, I am right on the edge of the fingerboard. So I have to be pretty careful about that. It's not an issue on the B string because I don't play up there anyway. The other issue is that despite every bit of math and measuring I attempted to do, you know, measuring the total travel, finding the center point of the saddle adjustment, I still installed the bridge too far forward. If you remember, I was trying to avoid bumping into those existing holes, so I was in front of them. But it turns out that the saddles are too far forward, and I can't really get all the adjustment I need to intonate the B, E, and A strings. I had to remove the spring from the bottom three strings to get that saddle back far enough. And the B string is still not back far enough. It needs to go back another probably 1/4 of an inch to get truly intonated, and I can't go any farther because I'm out of adjustment here. And the other problem with it being all the way back is that I can't access the string height screws. So in order to adjust the string height now, I have to loosen the string completely. I have to move the saddle forward so I can get in there. I have to make the adjustment to the height and then move the saddle back, retighten the string, and then hopefully I've got the height where I want it. So it's kind of a hassle. If I can get it to where I want it, then I'm just going to leave it like it is. I did have a problem with the B string getting stuck too far down in the saddle, and it wouldn't move either way, and I had to take the string off and pry it out of there. So if I continue to have issues like that, where I just can't get it intonated correctly and leveled correctly, I'll probably have to pull the whole bridge and go to the other side of those original holes and drill new holes, and then hopefully I won't have the opposite problem where I'm all the way at the front of the adjustment. So anyway, a couple things to be aware of. If you buy one, measure your bridge saddle width. Make sure it's not too much wider than your stock bridge. And if you have some tips on how to measure properly for where this thing goes, I mean, I measured 35 inches and still was not quite right. So maybe Johnny Long can help me out with this and tell me how to figure out where the bridge goes, because I've done this on a couple other bases and I mess it up every time. Anyway, all right, well, it's the next day, and I ended up taking the bridge off and drilling new holes. As I mentioned previously, I was out of room for the B string adjustment, and I wasn't able to make adjustments to the height screw on the saddles because the lowest 3 strings were so far back I couldn't get the wrench in there, and I just decided, you know, I gotta have a bridge that works correctly. And so I said, you know, I'm not gonna be lazy, I'm just gonna fix it. So took everything back off. I moved my holes back about a ½ inch from where they were. So instead of being in front of the factory holes, they're now behind. There's about a finger width here between the pickup and the bridge now. Before it was just a tiny little bit. And now I have the B string intonates correctly, and I can get to the adjustment screws without having to loosen strings or anything like that. So I did move it back about a ½ inch. As far as the scale length here to the G string, that's exactly 35 inches. And the B string is 35.5 inches. And that's why I couldn't get it adjusted, because I was only getting a 35 and maybe an 1/8, and it just was not making it. So anyhow, that's the epilogue. So hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit the like and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. And next in my series of upgrades for this bass, I'm gonna gut the pickups in the preamp, and we're gonna put a new preamp in by Tone Monster. So stay tuned for that. Take care.